To get top marks in Cambridge IGCSE Computer Science 0478, you don't need to read the textbook 100 times. You just need a formula. Concept plus technical evidence plus scientific reasoning tailored exactly to the examiner's wording. We're cutting the fluff today. If you've been losing grade boundaries despite knowing all the definitions, well, you're exactly where you need to be.
Let's look at this question right off the bat. Explain the function of HTML. 3 marks. It's a standard high-stakes exam question. And it's also the exact moment where perfectly smart students accidentally throw away their grade boundaries.
And this right here perfectly illustrates why. On the left, we've got a safe but kinda shallow mindset. HTML makes web pages. I mean, sure, it's not wrong, you might scrape 1 mark, but look at the right. HTML defines the structure and semantics of a web page using tags. Boom, 3 marks. The left is just a generic description. The right, that's a targeted explanation. Today, we're going to transform your revision from that left column straight over to the right.
Section 1. The top mark HTML formula. Let's get into those strategic marks.
So here is the really painful truth. Memorizing vocabulary lists is just not enough for top marks. Ordinary revision totally fails under pressure, because exams don't just test your memory of a word, they test your understanding of its actual purpose. If you just learn HTML as some isolated definition, your brain is going to completely freeze when the examiner asks you to apply it to a real digital problem. The source material actually warns us directly about this. It says, if a student only describes, the answer sounds safe but shallow. Seriously, if you jump straight into explaining something without clearly naming the concept first, or if you just casually describe it, you're literally leaving marks on the table. The examiner will just look at it and assume your response is confused or, incomplete. So, the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the boundary between description and explanation. Let's break down this matrix. Description, that's column 1, just telling the examiner what the device, process, or method is. But explanation, column 2, that's telling them how it works and why it actually matters. Examiners expect both. You absolutely cannot stop at column 1. Now you might be wondering how to guarantee your answer stays perfectly in context every single time. In a moment, I'm going to show you the exact examiner clue, a 4-question checklist that changes your answer completely. But first, you really need the framework that makes that clue obvious. We've got to fix how your explanations are built layer by layer. Section 2. The 3-layer answer method. Let's structure that response. To get this right, your brain actually needs to make a chronological progression. Step 1 is the simple explanation. You need to be able to paraphrase the concept accurately in just everyday language. Then step 2, the technical vocabulary. This is where you inject the correct subject terms. And finally, step 3, the exam response. This is where you shape that technical idea into an answer that actually scores marks under severe time pressure. A lot of students think they know a topic at step 1, but then they totally fall apart at step 3. And a huge part of hitting that step 3 is clarifying your boundaries. You've got to understand contrasts. For example, HTML is for structure and semantics, while CSS is for presentation and styling. If you confuse terms that sound similar, like confusing physical security with logical security, or HTML with CSS, you'll end up answering a completely different question from the one they actually set. And that's a disaster. Section 3. Spot the examiner's trap. Let's avoid those common mistakes. Okay, let's put you to the test. Read this student's answer with me. HTML is a protocol used to style the colors, fonts, and visual layout of a secure web page. Now pause for a second. Try to predict why this highly confident-sounding answer scores an absolute 0. No way they're getting a mark for this. Why? Did you catch it? This brilliantly illustrates the trap. Surface features completely distracted the student from the real idea. On the left, we see styling, colors, visual layout, that is presentation, that's CSS. On the right, HTML is about content, structure, and tags. Plus, the student just casually threw in the words protocol and secure, totally confusing web structure with network protocols like HTTPS. They recognized familiar words, panicked a bit, and completely missed the deeper process.
Moving on to Section 4, the perfect answer structure, the disciplined path.
So how do we actually avoid falling into that trap? Well, here is your technical method. First, identify the demand of the question. What type of thinking is it even testing? Second, classify the correct concept.
Third, explain the sequence or structure step by step, logically. Please, don't jump backwards and forwards. And finally, connect your explanation back to the context. Following this structure ensures your facts aren't just written in some random illogical panic. Because honestly, the golden rule of Cambridge exams is this: generic responses rarely gain full marks. Specificity is absolutely mandatory. If you just leave the idea floating in abstraction, you lose. Your sequence must adapt to the specific scenario given in the prompt. For instance, look at these contexts. Are you applying your knowledge to a school system, a retail website, a secure network, maybe an industrial environment? The context dictates the answer. Real-world transfer converts your memory into actual usefulness. See, when you repeatedly connect the topic to familiar technology, you remember the exact reason the concept exists in the first place, not just its label.
Section 5. The 4-question final check. This is your final safety net.
And this brings us right back to that promise I made you earlier. I want you to mentally screenshot this checklist right now. This is the examiner clue I was talking about, your final safety net. Before you submit an answer, ask yourself, 1. What is it? 2. How does it work? 3. Where is it used? And 4. Why is it better or worse than an alternative in that exact situation? If you can confidently answer those 4 prompts based on what you just wrote, your answer is good to go. If not, you need to refine it.
But here is the brutal reality we have to face next. Knowledge is absolutely useless if you run out of time. Knowing this amazing 3-layer framework and the 4-question check is brilliant, don't get me wrong, but it's really only half the battle.
Ask yourself this: can you actually write this perfect 3-layer answer under severe exam timing pressure? When the clock is ticking down and your adrenaline is spiking, precision usually falls apart. Speed becomes your ultimate bottleneck. Which means you are still missing one critical piece to completely secure those top-band marks, and that is exactly what we're solving in our next explainer: the timed answer writing system for 0478. You need to see how to deploy this exact framework at maximum speed without sacrificing any clarity. Watching that next explainer isn't really an option. It is the mandatory next step to locking in your grade.
So, to make sure you have everything you need, subscribe to our YouTube channel Ace the Exams at acetheexams_IGSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations.
Until then, take a hard look at your current revision notes. Ask yourself, are your answers just safe, or are they truly top band? See you in the next explainer.